Hello, welcome back to Buckle Up. My name's Jasper and this is the BYD Seal, and I'm going to tell you why I think this is the best value car in its class. For that though, we will start with some styling because the exterior of this car looks great. You've got a really sharp front end, it's also very slippery and aerodynamic, and it sits in a space where there's quite a few models of competition, but this manages to look sharp, clean, crisp, and quite unique. You've got BYD's X-type front design with some daytime running light strikes in these front vent sections, a nice low front splitter that's gloss black plastic, a pinched nose, and some lovely headlamp clusters that are really nicely integrated into this front bumper and give it quite a bit of purposeful poise at the front. You've got a very large BYD badge here in chrome, and there's a couple of things I really love about the front. You've got some absolutely lovely crease work that works its way down the bonnet, and I love how this body line just extends into the front bumper. It's such a great piece of design, and you've also got these kind of fake vent elements of styling alongside the headlamps, which do look very good. Your headlamp clusters are full LED, and actually if you look at the whole front of this car, it's giving Porsche Panamera, except if it had been well styled. The good design continues around the side where you'll see some absolutely lovely 19-inch diamond cut faced alloy wheels. Love this spoke design. You've got a bit of black plastic styling vintage on the side that says BYD design in it. Auto folding wing mirrors and a lovely crease line along these doors. Down the bottom you've got this kind of black plastic running board which has got these styling elements that are reminiscent of side pipe exhausts, but because they're so angular they look very modern and fresh. This has pop-out door handles which are very conventional once they're out. Very nice bit of design, and it's got keyless entry with an actual button, so it just works if you've got the key in your pocket. Great bits of curvy styling, and then at the back you've got your charging flap. Now this is of course a Type 2 and CCS charging connection, and this car will recharge at speeds of up to 150 kilowatts. There are some other elements of sporty styling here, so you've obviously got blacked in or tinted rear windows, and then here you've got some aero reminiscent strikes or intakes that you might see on a very sporty car. There are some lovely touches on this car, and actually there's a great bit of sportiness at the back where you have this absolutely massive diffuser. And I put the diffuser in inverted commas because when you look underneath this car, it's very much a flat floored vehicle. So this is styling, but it is good styling. Another thing to mention at the back is these rear light clusters, which are themed along the ocean elements that BYD have with all of their models. So this being the BYD Seal, these have water droplet style elements to them and they look great. You've got a bar of chrome across the back of this car, and those lights do fill out this entire light bar. So a very clean and quite modern looking back end. This being a saloon, you've got a proper saloon style boot and no rear wiper. If I pop this boot open using this button down here that does get a little bit dirty unfortunately, you are greeted with 400 litres of space, which is quite a bit smaller than something like a Tesla Model 3, but actually not too far off some of this car's closest competitors. With it being a saloon, you've got quite an upright boot opening that's relatively small, but this is quite a boxy space, so provided it goes through the opening, you're all sorted. You do have a small netted section over here, and then a manual pull release to open your charging flap. But other than those, you don't have anything like a 12-volt socket or even any luggage tie-downs back here. There are a pair of lights on the boot ceiling, and you have a small amount of under boot floor storage back here. So this contains the pop-out tent-style cover for the panoramic sunroof, And then you've also got your Type 2 charging cable and your 3-pin adapter for charging at home, all of which fit neatly under this boot floor, so you've got that full capacity available for your luggage. Let's see what the back seats are like. I have got so much space back here. I mean, obviously, this seat is relatively far forwards because I am quite short at 5 feet 7.5 or about 173 centimeters. But even if this driver was taller, I would still have lots of knee room. Headroom is also pretty good. The roofline of this car stays pretty high up throughout most of its length, so somebody who's a little bit taller than I am still got space for their head. The seats are very comfortable and they are clad in this fake leather which has some absolutely beautiful diamond stitching and perforation in it. The materials on the door cards are also lovely, stitched leather with contrast elements, and then even the elements of plastic here feel very premium. They're very nice and patterned, and everything is so beautifully sculpted. There's so many different textures and shapes, so it's a very interesting interior. This seat is great, it's very comfortable. My feet will tuck under this driver's seat a little bit, and there's plenty of room to stretch out. The floor is completely flat, and when it comes to practicality, you're also pretty well off. So I've got a pair of cup holders in this armrest. I've got a water bottle holder in the door card that holds a reusable bottle of water. Bit of a pocket by the door pull, and then I've got 3 different pockets in the back of both of the front seats. I've got a cubby down here that you could put something like your mobile phone in, or you could put that in this pocket in the seat. And then down here, I've got a USB Type A and USB Type C charging port. When it comes to fitting rear car seats, you've got Isofix points under rubber flaps on both of these outer seats, and they also have a top tether on this parcel shelf. For extra large loads in the boot, these seats do fold down, but you have to do that from the back seats. Up here I've got a grab handle, I've got a soot hook holder, and then there's this large panoramic roof which you can fit a flimsy kind of pop-out tent style bit of covering to, which I think you'd basically do once if you wanted to cover the roof and then never touch again, because it's a bit of a faff. I think they should have probably just put a roll top cover in here, but certainly in terms of headroom, you do benefit because there's nothing bulky that needs to roll out across this roof. Let's see if the design, style, layout and materials that are great back here are just as good up front. Of course, the front is also great. I've got the same level of quality of materials around here, with leather on top of the door cards, a kind of Alcantara material that wraps its way around the dashboard, and then highlighting elements which are the same black textured plastic with blue lines running through it at funky different angles. Again, like in the back, there's so many materials, shapes and textures that really make this cabin a kind of elevated focal point of this whole car. BYD do an excellent job of making the interior really interesting and also feeling pretty premium as well. In terms of practicality, it's a similar story to the back. So I've got a reusable bottle of water here that fits in my door cards, and I've got a pair of cup holders here in the center console. The glove box is a full width, decent size, and then on the front of this center console, I've got 2 Qi wireless chargers, and then underneath, I've got a large space, which is where you need to plug your phone in for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You've got a USB Type A and a USB Type C socket down here, as well as a 12-volt one for charging. This armrest lifts up, you've got quite a deep storage cubby within it, which is really handy, and then this is a nice comfy height, perfect for me to rest my elbows on both this and the door card. So in terms of the cabin, the practicality elements are really there, and the comfort is also brilliant because these seats are electrically adjustable in multiple different ways. I've got lumbar support, the fake leather is gorgeously stitched, really interesting patterns. You're very nicely hugged in this seat. It's got a great amount of side bolstering. It feels very supportive, quite sporty as well actually. So with the car kind of surrounding me, I do feel relatively well cocooned here. One of the key points with this interior though is the infotainment, because it is fantastic. This center screen is essentially the same size as most large laptop displays, and the graphics on it are so crisp and so clear. The driver's instrument binnacle has a screen that's a lot smaller but the same kind of resolution, and if I turn this on, one of the other things you can do with this screen is you can actually rotate it. So if you'd like to display a bit more of the road ahead on your built-in sat-nav system, you can do so. The graphics and user interface are very reminiscent of using a mobile phone, and with BYD being predominantly a tech company before they stepped into making cars, they've put the effort in here. So this user interface is really easy to use. It's very natural to swipe through. It's very slick, very quick as well. You can log into your Spotify built into the car, or you can use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Unfortunately though, because this is quite a tech-heavy car, it means that most of the controls are in this screen, including your climate controls, which are admittedly always accessible with a shortcut from the bottom of the screen with a little swipe up, but it's just an extra step to go through. You do have shortcut buttons for auto climate control, turning it on and off, and then your front screen defrost. Down here you've got a physical dial for rolling your volume up and down, and then a drive mode selector for switching between normal, sport and eco over on the left. You've got auto hold, your blind spot monitoring system, and then the option to make the car a little bit easier to set off in icy conditions. Your gear selector is this kind of crystal element in the center, which is a flick forwards and backwards, very user intuitive, and park is a button here, and you've got your hazard light warning switch just down here. The steering wheel does have physical buttons all over it, which is really nice to see. On the left-hand side, you've got your assisted driving systems settings, so for your auto steer and fully adaptive cruise control and following distance, as well as a shortcut button for your 360-degree camera setup, and then a button to press to rotate the screen. However, you can also do that from the screen or with the voice assistant, which actually really does work quite well. Hi BYD. Rotate the screen.
Okay, rotating the screen.
Very handy. So generally in here, large screen, great design, really comfortable layout, and good levels of practicality that make this a really easy car to live with. Let's see how it drives. With the Seal having both an impressive cabin in terms of design and layout and an impressive amount of tech features in terms of infotainment system, how does the driving experience step up in what is becoming an increasingly important and competitive segment? I'm pleased to report that in terms of some of the key metrics, the Seal does a really good job of actually beating out some of its competition. So this is a single motor rear wheel drive model, and this has 313 PS and 360 Newton meters of torque, both of which are enough to take this car from 0 to 62 miles an hour in just 5.9 seconds, making it pretty nippy. You can also get an all-wheel drive dual motor version which has 530 horsepower and does 0 to 62 in 3.8 seconds. So if you want a bit more performance, the Seal offers that to you. However, this being the design model, that is just your 313 PS single motor rear-wheel drive setup. And with it being a rear-wheel drive setup, one thing that you might be expecting therefore is the potential for a bit of fun. And I'm really pleased to report that actually the Seal delivers that. So this is genuinely, I think, the best handling car in its class. The steering doesn't inspire a massive amount of confidence, but there is at least some weight behind it and a smidge of feeling, which is more than you can say for most of this car's rivals. The throttle pedal feels pretty good, with it having a good amount of resistance and being relatively easy to modulate. However, the brake pedal is unfortunately lacking just a little bit because you don't get much feedback and you do feel like you have to work it quite hard to be effective. It's very easy to change your drive modes using this little rotary dial down here, so I can spin it up into eco or on again into sport. Sport obviously sharpens up your throttle response and your regenerative braking, but you can also alter the two levels of that using the infotainment screen. With 360 Newton meters of torque and 313 PS, this car does pick up really well. However, what I did mention earlier is the star of the show here is the chassis. And this is genuinely a playful, enjoyable and engaging drive. It does inspire quite a lot of confidence in terms of it feels very well planted on the road, it feels competent, and it feels very capable. When it comes to tech for driving, the Seal is pretty well loaded. So you've got a full 360-degree camera system, you've got blind spot monitoring, you've got fully adaptive cruise control, and you've got lane keeping assist with auto steer. The adaptive cruise control is very good. It's good at detecting the car in front of you. It'll speed up and slow down at a good pace. However, the auto steer and lane keep assist does require just a little bit of tweaking, I think, to make it truly good. It's fine at picking up lane markings, but it's a little bit twitchy when it comes to following tighter curves in roads, and even sometimes it does take a few seconds to pick lane markings back up if you've made a lane change maneuver. The car also has a speed sign recognition system, and the alerts for that and the blind spot monitoring and all of the other assisted driving systems this car has are very nice and subtle. They let you know there's something to be concerned about, but they don't necessarily shout at you, so they're not too intrusive. This has got auto lights, auto wipers, the headlamps also have auto high beam assist, the lights in this are really good, and all of the automatic systems generally are brilliant. So the car delivers dynamically. What about the other key metrics with an EV, which are obviously your range and efficiency? Well, the Seal has an 84 kilowatt hour battery, of which 82.5 kilowatt hours are usable. So that is a really good percentage of its total capacity that is actually usable to you as a driver. And with an efficiency of somewhere in the region of 3.7 to 4 miles per kilowatt hour, you can get a real world range out of this car of over 310 miles. WLTP range of this is somewhere in the region of 360 something miles, but this car definitely does stack up in terms of range for its battery capacity. The clear leader in this segment is the Tesla Model 3 when it comes to battery efficiency. Tesla have been doing EVs for a number of years, and they are very good at making them go the distance. But what you get with this is a really, really usable range at a really good price point. So I mentioned this car being pretty much, as far as I can tell, the best value in this segment, and that's because the Seal design, which is this rear-wheel drive specification, is available brand new from £45,600. And if you have a good couple of dealer incentives, you might find that that cash equivalent price will be closer to £42,000, £43,000. So that puts it in a very accessible price bracket for the amount of performance and range that you get. And when you pair that with the level of technology in here, which on the whole is really good, I think that's a pretty exciting proposition. Now, unfortunately, there are a couple of things that I do need to whinge about in terms of technology. So while this display and menu system is generally really good, some of the settings for things are buried quite deep within different menus, and obviously your climate control is in the screen. However, what you can do is you can ask the voice assistant. So if I say, "Hey BYD, set the temperature to 18 degrees.
Got it. Setting the temperature to 18 degrees.
So while a lot of the menus that this car has are a little bit of a pain in the back to deal with, you can kind of get around that because of how good this voice assistant is. "Hey BYD, open my window 10%.
Are you sure you want to open the window that much?
"Yes."
All right.
So if I want my window cracking, I can do that without even reaching for the physical controls that I have on the door card. "Hey BYD, roll down all the windows."
Are you sure you want to open the windows that much?
"Yes."
All right.
This is absolutely ridiculous. You don't need to do this with a voice assistant, but you can. "Hey BYD, close all the windows." That's much better. So yes, despite these slightly finicky menus, The user interface is generally really good, it's incredibly responsive, and with a really usable voice assistant, you can actually work your way around quite a lot of those problems. Well, that is the BYD Seal, a car that offers a pretty premium interior, great driving dynamics, some excellent styling, and some pretty practical range and performance at a price point that makes it very competitive in this segment. I do genuinely think that you can't really go wrong when pitting this car against its similarly priced rivals, especially given how much tech you get for what you spend. The BYD Seal is therefore a hearty recommendation from me at Buckle Up. We have also driven the all-wheel drive model on the channel, which you can find a link to here. If you are looking for links, please check out the description where all of our social media are linked down there, as well as our spread shop for some merchandise, or you can become a channel member here on YouTube if you'd like to support us in another way. My name's Jasper, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!